Hello, my name is Martin. I'm a linguist and a translator. Welcome to my language channel. Today we're going to talk about the structure and parts of a verb. A verb is a word that expresses an action or state of being. Here are some examples of verbs. Miranda is a student. She studies economics. She is holding her notebooks. She started college last year. Now let's talk about verb structure. The structure of English verbs is relatively simple, and verb forms are not highly inflected as in other languages like Greek, for example. Instead, English uses auxiliary verbs to form different tenses and moods. English speakers might be surprised at all the terminology used to describe English verb structure, but many newcomers to the language will find it pleasantly easy. So let's talk about the parts of a verb. For learning purposes, verbs are frequently described in terms of parts, much like sentences are broken down into parts. This video will define 5 essential parts to a verb: the infinitive, the base form or root, the present participle, the past simple, and the past participle. So let's start with the infinitive. The infinitive is the base form of the verb without any endings associating it with a particular subject or tense. It is always preceded by the word to. Consider the 6 infinitives underlined in this line from Hamlet. To be or not to be, that is a question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing in them, to die, to sleep. Now let's talk about the base form or the root of the verb. The base form is the verb part of the infinitive without the word to. It is also referred to as the root. Here is a little chart that shows examples of the difference between the infinitive and the base form. To drink, and then just drink. To eat, and then just eat. To enjoy, and then just enjoy. And then the picture, some delicious churros and coffee. The next part of the verb that we want to talk about is the present participle. This is the base form of the verb plus the ending ing, ing. The present participle can also be used as an adjective or as a noun. When used as a noun, it is referred to as a gerund. Examples of gerunds: shopping is always fun. Crossing the street can be dangerous. Smiling makes anyone more attractive. Christmas giving finances many charities. Now we come to the past simple. As the name implies, this is a simple past tense form of the verb. The past simple tense of regular verbs is formed by adding ed to the root. Irregular verbs have different forms of the past simple and must be learned individually. And now to the 5th part of a verb, the past participle. This is the past form of the verb that is used with auxiliary verbs to form perfect tenses. Like the past simple, it is formed by adding ed to the root. The past participles of irregular verbs have different forms and must be learned individually. The past participle can also be used as an adjective or as a noun. So now let's discuss the parts of regular and irregular verbs. Regular verbs are those that follow the pattern of the majority of verbs, whereas irregular verbs have different structures. Let's compare the structures of the following regular and irregular verbs. We'll compare the regular verb to saw, meaning to cut with a saw, and the irregular verb to see. The base form is the verb without the word to, saw and see, respectively. The present participle is sawing and seeing, respectively. Now when we come to the past simple, it gets weird. To saw is a regular verb, so the past simple is formed by adding ed, sawed. To see is an irregular verb, and the past simple is saw. I pity anyone who is learning English as a second language. The past participle of to saw is sawed. the same form as the past simple. The past participle of to see is seen. Let's look at a couple of additional verbs to compare the difference between regular and irregular verbs. The verb to walk is regular. Its parts are to walk, walk, walking, walked, and walked again. The verb to run is irregular. Its parts are to run, run, running, ran, and run. When I used the verbs to saw and to see side by side a minute ago, I wanted to make a point that these verb forms can be confusing even to native speakers. Because the past participle of regular verbs takes the same form as the past simple, and both represent an action in the past, some people confuse the two when it comes to irregular verbs. Let's use the verb to see again to illustrate some correct and incorrect uses. This is incorrect. I seen George at school yesterday. The correct way to say it is I saw George at school yesterday using the past simple. Or you can say I have seen George at school many times using the past perfect tense composed of the auxiliary verb to have and the past participle seen. Now let's look at another irregular verb with a past simple and past participle that sometimes confuse people. To go. Incorrect. We could have went with him. The correct way is we could have gone with him. One can also say we went with him, but not we gone with him. Participles as adjectives and nouns. As I mentioned at the beginning, present and past participles can be used as adjectives or nouns as well. Before wrapping up this video, I want to leave you with a few examples. We'll start with the present participle. Present participle as a verb, the candidate is convincing many voters. Present participle as an adjective, the candidate gave a convincing speech. Present participle as a noun, the candidate had to do a lot of convincing to sway the vote. And now some examples of the past participle used as an adjective and as a noun. Past participle as a verb, the voters have rejected the candidate. Past participle as an adjective, the candidate felt rejected. Past participle as a noun, the candidate joined the ranks of the rejected. Like any adjective, past participles used as a noun have a plural or collective meaning. In this last sentence, the rejected implies a group or category of persons, or in this case, candidates that have been rejected. Now let's review what we have learned about the structure and parts of a verb. A verb is a word that expresses an action or state of being. English uses auxiliary verbs to form different tenses and moods. Verbs are frequently described in terms of parts. This video defines 5 essential parts to a verb: infinitive, base form or root, present participle, past simple, and past participle. Regular verbs are those that follow the pattern of the majority of verbs, whereas irregular verbs have a different structure. So that wraps it up for today's video on the structure and parts of a verb. If you have found this information helpful, be sure to like this video and click on the subscribe button for more videos like this one. Thank you so much for watching.